as you may have seen, the recordings are now also online on YouTube, so you can watch them back in case you missed the class. And that's it, announcement-wise. Maybe I'll do some more in between. But first, let us move on to the homework, which was 2 things. And I don't think these are up to date. So first we have matching the correct adjective with the correct sentence. I don't think the slides are up to date, unfortunately. I apologize. And so you have to fill in the correct adjective in the correct sentence. Ooh, very exciting exercise. So I will just ask you to answer. Let's see who is here. Sarah, could you answer number 1? Could you read the sentence out loud with the correct answer filled in, and possibly translate if you know it, the translation?
Sorry, I don't have it with me at the moment.
Okay. That will be difficult indeed to fill it in then. No worries. Jacqueline, could you do exercise 1?
Yes, of course. De FVD heeft de kleinste zetters in de eerste kamer. So the FVD has the smallest seats. The first comma, I don't know, camera or whatever.
Very good translation. Unfortunately, incorrect. I think the seats of the FAD are the same size as the seats of all the other parties in the first chamber. The correct one, maybe you came here by process of elimination, but the correct answer here is meeste.
Oh, I put this actually before, but I changed it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
But I now see that is not even an option.
Yeah, exactly. It was not an option, and actually I put mine there somewhere else, so that's why I changed it afterwards.
Yeah.
So.
No, that was totally my bad. So, well, good try. But it's to be meeste, but it is not even there. So we'll just see where I went wrong. The FAD has the most seats in the first chamber at the moment. Okay. So that's factually correct. Of course, your use of the word is also perfectly correct.
Thank you.
And it's good that you added the E there. Oh, kleinste, indeed.
Thank you.
Okay, then to the. Well, I wanted to say it. Marina, could you say the full sentence?
I'm sorry, I couldn't do I only did the Duolingo homework. I didn't have time for the rest of it.
Okay, no worries. Rieke, could you warrant a guess?
Ja, voor de tweede heb ik de PFF is rechtser dan D66.
Very good. Indeed, very good. De PVV is rechtser dan D66. It's more right-wing than D66. Other correct answer would be no. There's only one here. Correct. Nice. Nice. Great job. Jacob, could you do 3?
I was a bit confused by that, but wasn't just die linken Parteien hebben in total minder zetels dan de rechten Parteien?
Yeah, indeed. Very good. De linkse partijen hebben in totaal minder zetels dan de rechtse partijen. The left-wing parties have in total less seats than the right-wing parties. Very good. 4. Yasmin.
Yes. Hoeveel stemmen heb je nodig om de grootste party te worden?
Yes, very good. How many votes do you need to become the biggest party? Oh wait, I should have asked you that, but very good.
Yeah, that was my.
Of course you knew that as well.
Yeah.
Next, Anna. 5.
Ja, er kunnen dit jaar misschien minder mensen stemmen door de pandemie.
Could you also translate that?
Sorry?
Could you also provide a translation?
Oh yeah, sorry. It could be that this year, no, or maybe this year there's less people voting because of the pandemia.
Perfect. Very good. Yasmin, did you have a question? Or did
No,
you
sorry,
raise
I
your hand?
don't have any questions. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. All right, and then finally, 6. Irene. Or Irene, I forgot which one, what pronunciation was better. Okay, maybe my pronunciation was so off that I didn't even recognize it.
I'm with the computer of my roommate because mine has some problems.
Oh, okay.
I'm in the chat, I think, with my computer, but have technical problems I have to solve. Okay, can you give me when were we?
6.
Okay, ik hoop dat meer goede dingen gaan gebeuren.
Very good. Could you also translate it?
I hope that more good things will be done.
Almost. Will happen.
Okay.
But otherwise very good. Maybe that is a better attitude to have. Because things need to be done, not just happen. Very good. Okay. Then the bonus exercise. Maybe some of you did. Maybe we can discuss that in a bit. Because it might take some time. But I hope you checked out the thing I posted. I think it's pretty. I think Lubachel is pretty entertaining to see, and relatively informing for a political commentator. So let us move on. Before we do that, I want to ask. Yes. This is not the correct. Do you have any questions about what we covered last week? Or just in questions in general about topics related to Dutch that I can answer? No?
Actually, I was just wondering about the first answer. So, but in the end, it will be the kleinste anyway, right? The
Yeah,
first
that's
section.
the one that is. Yeah, you are totally right. It is the one that is left.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Okay.
That should have been meeste. And
Okay.
I just typed that thing incorrectly.
Okay.
So by process of elimination, you were totally correct.
It should be meeste.
Meeste, yes.
Or meeste for much, many. Okay. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Then let's move on to the actual content of the course. This I will skip, or I will just very briefly go over. How do you make the present simple? You know this. You have the stem. That's the approximately the infinitive minus en, and then you apply some rules to it. And then it's just the stem plus t. For ik, it is stem. For jij, it is stem plus t. For hij, ze, het, it is stem plus t. En wij, jullie, zij, it is just the infinitive. Gewoon het infinitief. And there's a few irregular verbs. Hebben, zijn, mogen, zullen, kunnen. But those aren't very problematic. These are the rules. You have seen these. If you have not seen these or do want to ask something, please just interrupt me. The verleden tijd we've also covered extensively. So you just take the last look at the last letter of the crude stem. If it is in sexy soft ketchup, you add te or ten to the stem. And if it's not, you add de or den. And then bam, you have the past simple for regular verbs. But unfortunately, we have a lot of irregular verbs and they go differently. In the files tab of the general channel, I have I think I mentioned this at the start, I have like a big list of like regular irregular verbs, those that follow a certain pattern, just like in English when you have drink, drank, swim, swam. Those follow a certain pattern. In Dutch, we also have those, and there's a big ass list over there. You can check it out if you are so inclined. Then we move on to things that we briefly mentioned, and we'll go into more detail now. So we have already talked about the toekomende tijd a bit, the future simple, future tense. I never know how to refer to it. So how to talk about things in the future. And we have learned that if you use gaan, no, you can just do that. Just like in English, I am going to do groceries. We gaan boodschappen doen. With zullen, the second way you can do it is with zullen, just like in English. I will do groceries, or I shall do groceries. It works the same way. You just take the finite verb and you put it at the end of the sentence as an infinitive, and then replace the finite verb with the correct conjugation of zullen, which is a bit weird, but you have seen this. If you have not seen this, it is on page 6 of your booklet. There is the conjugation table. Ik zal, jij, je zult, /zal. Hij, zij, het zal, en wij, jullie, zij zullen. It means will or shall. Oh, it's even here. So it's like this. And note that for jij there are two options, jij zal or jij zult. And those are pretty much interchangeable. There is maybe a slight nuance, but it is. I have tried to articulate this a couple of times, and I've not been able to do that consistently. So you can just pretend there is no difference here. And this is also easy. That was it. There is actually some bit more nuance that is also written in your booklet. So when do you use zullen? When you use gaan. Zullen is for promises. So if, I will buy groceries tomorrow, you tell that to your roommate, and it's your turn to do groceries, as you do with your roommates. I don't know. I will clean the kitchen tomorrow. That's maybe a more apt example. Or if you have a kind of uncertain situation, like ik zal misschien volgend jaar naar Spanje gaan. So I'll maybe go to Spain next year, but it's kind of uncertain because of the pandemic. In English, you would just use going to there as well. But in Dutch, then in those cases, you use zullen. So ik zal volgend jaar misschien naar Spanje gaan. You could say ik ga misschien volgend jaar naar Spanje, but it sounds a bit more weird. So that's the future simple. Pretty simple.
Sorry, what's the other situation where we use a zal?
When you're making promises.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So if you say, I will do that tomorrow. Or if you want to be dramatic, I guess, I shall do that tomorrow. But oftentimes, the Dutch aren't that dramatic people, so that's not a good use case. Okay, then we can go to the directly, so on schedule, to the meat of this week's grammar, which is the present perfect, the voltooid tegenwoordige tijd, which is kind of the main verb tense that we haven't treated yet. It is probably the most used verb tense in Dutch, because most things that you talk about have either happened or have happened usually, and most things that have happened in Dutch, you use the present perfect, which is different from English. English, you use the past simple a lot more, but in Dutch, you use the present perfect a lot more. And we'll see when to use what in a second. But first, the form of the present perfect. It is a conjugation of hebben or zijn, and then het voltooid deelwoord, the past participle. So this is things like been, done, like, that's not a good one, worked, those things. And we'll also look at the rules to construct those in a bit. So here's an example. Hij is vorig jaar naar Zuid-Afrika geweest. He has been to South Africa last year. Or ik heb mijn koffers al gepakt. I already packed my suitcase. In English, you would probably more likely translate this as he went to South Africa last year, instead of he has been to South Africa last year. And here we already see that in Dutch you prefer the present perfect, while in English you prefer the past simple. So, when do you use the present perfect over the past simple? The answer is almost always when you're talking about something in the past. And here we have some specific use cases. If it still affects the present, and this is broadly construed, you use the present perfect. If you are not describing a long period in the past, you use the present perfect. And if there is no toen in the sentence, you also use the present perfect. So let's look at some examples of these things. So here you use the past simple if things are disconnected from the present, los van het heden. Gisteren was ik jarig. Yesterday was my birthday. It's just a statement about things. Doesn't really, you having your birthday yesterday maybe doesn't have a very strong effect on the present. Maybe you threw a party yesterday because it was your birthday. You shouldn't, of course, corona. And that might have a strong impact on today. Maybe you're hungover now. And then you would use the past present perfect. So instead of gisteren was ik jarig, you would say gisteren heb ik een feestje gegeven. Yesterday I threw a party. But that was not the case. It's just a statement about effect in past. So it is just was. Gisteren was ik jarig. The second one. ESN bestond al in 1989. ESN already existed in 1989. 1999 was in de vorige eeuw. 1999 was in the past century. Very exciting sentences. Don't really affect anything in the present at the moment. So you just use the past simple. This should be a to, but here again use past simple for periods in the past. De Tweede Wereldoorlog duurde van 1939 tot 1945. Vorige week was het koud en regende het. Last week it was cold and it rained. It might have some effect now, because now you're miserable because last week was just a shitty week. But it is a long period, so you use the past simple. And then finally, this is the most common case where you use the past simple when the word toen is in the sentence. Toen means then, or when, or at that moment. Ik werd wakker toen het licht werd. I woke up when it got light outside. There's a better way to say that, but at dawn. Toen mijn wekker ging, ben ik meteen opgestaan. When my alarm went off, I immediately stood up. Notice that it affects only the part of the sentence where toen is in. So here, toen mijn wekker ging, when my alarm went off. This part you use toen, and for the other part you don't use toen. So ben ik meteen opgestaan. Oh, sorry, you don't use the past simple. So here it is a present perfect. Ben ik meteen opgestaan. I think we have some here we have some good examples. So, to recap, if there is een directe invloed op het heden, a direct influence on the present, if there's no period in the past and no toen, then you use the present perfect, which is most cases, almost all cases in Dutch. When you're talking about the past, you use present perfect. And it mostly affects the first one. So let's look at some examples of how that differs. Vorig jaar was 2018. So last year it was 2018. That is not true. This is an old slide. If you say vorig jaar is 2018 geweest, you are in Dutch implying that there is some kind of effect going on that that the fact that it was 2018 last year caused, which is very strange because these kinds of weird kind of abstract numerical facts don't really cause things. It is very causation related verb tense. 20 jaar geleden was ik 5 jaar oud. That's correct. It's not correct to say 20 jaar geleden ben ik 5 jaar oud geweest. I have been 5 years old 20 years ago. That sounds very weird. And here we have two cases where both can happen. Ik stond meteen op toen ik wakker werd. I woke up immediately when, I stood up immediately when I woke up. and let's ignore this wrong one and go to the right one. Ik ben meteen opgestaan toen ik wakker werd. That also makes sense. And the second one is not correct. Ik stond meteen op toen ik wakker ben geworden. Because we have toen in this part of the sentence, so we don't use this. Let me grab the pointer. The difference between this sentence and this sentence is ik stond meteen op toen ik wakker werd. This sounds like you're telling a story about your day and doesn't really make a difference either way what happened. You're just telling things as they happened. If you say ik ben meteen opgestaan toen ik wakker werd, it sounds like, again, the fact that you stood up had some effect on you at the moment. Maybe you're using it as a justification to your boss for why it doesn't really matter that you're late because you got up immediately. Or because you got up immediately when you woke up and you woke up very early, you're very tired now. That is what the second sentence implies. And the first sentence doesn't imply anything of the sort. It just is a statement about the past. And these are very clear differences. Ik heb gisteren boodschappen gedaan en ik deed gisteren boodschappen. So literally, I have done groceries yesterday and I did groceries yesterday. The first implies that this has some effect right now. Ik heb gisteren boodschappen gedaan, dus ik heb nog heel veel eten. So I did groceries yesterday, so I still have a lot of food in my fridge. And the other one is just a statement. And that is the general theme of things. Zij is vorige maand aangekomen in Nederland. So she arrived in the Netherlands yesterday. This means the same thing. But this implies that, ze is vorige maand aangekomen, dus blah, blah, blah. With the present perfect, there's usually a dus statement, a so statement following it. And since often when you're telling people things, you're telling them things maybe for a reason, maybe not. Dutch are pretty down to business people and in conversation, a lot of big context about, oh yeah, this is just what my day was like. No, it's for a reason we're telling you things. So we like to use the present perfect. That is the use case of when you use the present perfect. But as we saw, you can use two different verbs. So when to use one verb or the other. Very briefly, it's like this. You use zijn for verbs which have to do with movement and for which the end point or starting point is mentioned. Or for verbs where the subject changes in some way. And you use hebben for verbs which don't have an end point mentioned or a starting point, and for everything else. So let's look at some examples of this. Ik ben naar mijn werk gelopen is a very normal way to say that sentence. So I walked to my work. Ik heb een stukje gelopen om even uit te waaien. I walked for a bit to kind of get some fresh air. But the first one, there is an endpoint mentioned, so you use zijn. And for the second one, there is no endpoint mentioned, so you use hebben. The second one about changing is, I guess, the more obvious use case of the difference between hebben and zijn. Ik ben veranderd. I am changed. Versus zij heeft mij veranderd. She has changed me. In the case of the subject undergoing some change, and that can be very big, you know, like it can be literally with the word change, but it can also be about growing or maturing or just getting worse or something. Anything where the quality of the subject changes in some way. Also very common to use with the verb worden, which means to become, obviously very much related to change. Dus ik ben veranderd, zij heeft mij veranderd. Those are kind of the main cases. Now, we learned a lot about when to use it, but I know you're just begging to know, Thomas, just tell me, how do I form the present perfect? I need to know. It is pretty simple. For verbs, for regular verbs, it is just ge plus the stem plus d or t. And you can guess the D or T is when is the same reason as the past simple. So if the last letter of the crude stem is in section of ketchup, use a T, and if not, use a D. Ik heb gewerkt. De K is in section of ketchup. Ik heb gereisd. The Z of reizen is not in section of ketchup, so it is a D. Luckily for you, there's also a lot of irregular verbs in the present perfect. Here are some examples, the most common ones, also in your booklet, I think. It looks like it would be in your booklet. Oh yeah, it's on your word list, so there's a lot of different ones here. Dus most common ones is geweest for Dutch, for to be. And I see here for worden it also says geweest. That should not be, that's not correct. That should be geworden. That is incorrect in your booklet, and I apologize. Zien is gezien. That is also irregular because there's no D or something at the end. Lezen, gelezen, schrijven, geschreven, daan, gedaan. They look very similar usually to their past simple counterparts, but not always. There is also a pattern here, but again, I won't teach you the pattern. One other thing you need to know is that if the word starts with ge, ver, or be, you don't add another ge. Maybe I also said it in the slides. No, I don't. For instance, the word veranderen, which means to change, you don't add a ge at the start in the past as the past participle, because otherwise you would say ik ben geveranderd, and that sounds weird because then you have two unemphasized prefixes, and we just want one. So if there's ver or be or ge already at the start of the verb, you just keep it and you don't add anything else. Examples are veranderen, beveiligen, like to secure, genezen, to cure. So it's not genezen, but genezen. Yes. That is almost everything you need to know about this. Kept it relatively short for my doing. I usually can talk about this for way longer, providing almost the exact same amount of information. The only other thing you need to know, I guess, about word order, but we'll get into this next lesson, is that the past participle gets put at the end of the sentence. Yeah, it just gets put at the end of the sentence. That's just what you need to know. No, yeah, okay, doesn't really matter. Yeah, so do you have any questions about this? Is this clear? Would you like another example?
I had a question. What did you say an example was of when you don't add the ge? Because I see that there's gegeven.
Do you see gegevens?
Yeah, in the list it's gegeven.
Oh yeah, there's gegeten indeed there, and gegeven.
Yeah.
Yeah, so gegeven is not irregular. Yeah, okay, so that's a bit weird because the ge there is not unemphasized. It's pronounced as ge, gegeten, so it is different. The same goes for gegeten, sorry. The same goes for eten. Gegeten. It's not pronounced as ge, but as ge. So that's different. Or that is the reason, at least, for why it is different.
Okay, but there are other words where it starts with ge and then you don't add the ge, right?
Yeah, indeed. Then
if it's the same sound, I guess.
So yes?
So that's when it's the same sound, which is not the case.
Indeed, if it's the same sound as ge, then it is different. Of course, it's kind of difficult to see if it is the same sound. Yeah.
Yeah, but here it's ge and not ge. Or yeah, like in geven, it's ge and not ge. Right. Okay. Cool.
Cool. Good question. Anyone else? No? Okay. Then we are actually going to do an exercise. Ooh. How exciting. So I think I'll throw you in groups anyway, just because you can collaborate a bit. And you can do exercise 1 and 2. Start with exercise 2, because that's the more important one. And then if you have time left, you can do exercise 1. For exercise 1, you have to do 2 different things. It says what you need to do. And for exercise 2, you just need to turn the sentence into a present perfect and then translate it if you have even more time left. Okay. Good. Then you can already start looking at it while I put you in groups. If you have any questions during the exercise, please type it in the chat of your group room that you're in, and I can see that and can come to you.
I have a question right now.
Okay.
For one of the examples, it said ESN is opgericht in 1989. But I thought you just mentioned that it always goes at the end.
Yeah, it always goes to the start. Now, that's a very good thing that you caught. And that is because oprichten is a separable verb. And we didn't really talk about those yet. We will talk about those in lesson 5. And separable verbs, they behave a bit differently. The ge goes in between the prefix and the rest of the verb. But we wanted to look at those. We'll look at those in 2 lessons from now.
Okay. So if it's any of those words like op or van or
Yeah, indeed. When you have those things, or bij of aan, of yeah, op. Op is a very common one.
Okay.
But there are some nuance to that, so I didn't really want to bring that up yet because that's a lot of things that I will need to cover then.
For another lesson.
Good call. Good catch. Okay. Good luck. I always say this too early, and then you're not in the room, so. And please type in the chat if you have any questions. Hallo, Portugal. Hi. Hope doing well.
Hi.
How did it go? Like, on a scale 1 to 10.
It was hard.
Okay, good. Should be hard. Let's quickly go through the answers of exercise 2, and then we'll have our well-deserved break. So first, we have that is already okay. That's the answer. Ik werk de hele dag aan het project. Is the correct question? Is the correct sentence? And then the answer is: ik heb de hele dag aan het project gewerkt. I worked on the project all day. All right. Now for the second one, I will ask people. Filippo, you give me the answer to the
Yes. Heb jij de client gebeld?
Perfect. Heb je de cliënt gebeld?
Have you talked with the client?
Yes. Have you called the client specifically? But indeed. Very good. 3. Simona?
Yeah, I don't know, but het heeft gisteren regen, dus ik heb de bus gepakt.
Ja, pretty good. Het heeft gisteren geregend, dus ik heb de bus gepakt.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Could you translate it?
Sorry?
Could you translate it?
Oh yeah. It rained yesterday, so I took the bus.
Perfect. Very good. Marina. Q4.
Caroline heeft een half jaar in Denemarken gewoond.
Yes, perfect. Caroline heeft een half jaar in Denemarken gewoond. This is not correct. This should be 2 E's. Could you translate it?
Caroline has lived half a year in Denmark.
Yes, perfect. And then 5. Pieter stopt met roken. Ariana?
Ja, Pieter is met roken gestopt.
Ah, perfect. And could you translate it?
Peter stopped smoking.
Yes. Very good that you used is there instead of to have. Because it's a change in Pieter.
I moved the gestopt to the end. Is that all right as well?
Yes, that is more all right, I would say. Because normally you put it at the end. Pieter is met roken gestopt. Pieter is gestopt met roken. Dutch people, this met clause, this gets kind of put all over the place. But is met roken gestopt is better, I would say. So very good. Okay. Then exercise 1, I will just go through quickly because I'm not sure how many people got to it. If you have any questions or you got the answer wrong and don't know why, please let me know. So first we have zullen oprichten bedrijf groot zij later een. And then you have to also conjugate things correctly. And then you get zij gaat of zij gaan later een groot bedrijf oprichten. No, that's not correct at all. That shouldn't be gaan, it should be zullen. So zij zal of zij zullen later een groot bedrijf oprichten. Instead of zij gaat / gaan. So they will start a large company later. 2, gaan wij morgen houden meeting? Morgen gaan wij een meeting houden. You could also see this as a question. Gaan wij morgen een meeting houden? Are we going to have a meeting tomorrow? So the proper Dutch word for meeting is vergadering. But a lot of Dutch people use meeting because it's shorter. Me included. That was the first part. The second part is write down a Dutch sentence describing this in the correct tense. So that's a lot more difficult. Maybe I will ask some people here just to see how you did. Sophia, did you get to this exercise?
Yeah,
Or this is your last
actually
one,
I
maybe?
didn't. So I don't actually know what zijn je plans, maybe?
Could you repeat that?
No, wat zijn je, I don't know how to say plans.
Plannen?
Plannen? For the evening in the, I don't remember. Sorry.
Ja. No worries. It's pretty good. Wat zijn je plannen voor vanavond, voor de avond, in de avond? Of wat ga je vanavond doen? What are you going to do this evening?
Okay.
Pretty good. Nice. Then, and I will just ask people to try even if they didn't get to it. Gabriella? Or do we have multiple? No, we have only one Gabriella.
Sorry, I didn't this one, and I don't think I can do it now.
That's fine. This one indeed is a bit more free form with your plans. So you could just say, ik ga doen. I'm going to do this and this and this. That is indeed not that very interesting. And the last one is also a bit free form. Your friend has run off. Tell them you'll call them later tonight. You kind of yell to them. En ze zegt, doei, ik zal je later vanavond bellen. Or ik bel je later wel. So it's like a promise. I will call you later this evening. Cool. Before we move on to the break, any questions still about the present perfect, future tense, these exercises, life, the universe, anything?
I have one question. Over zin 3, het regende gisteren, dus ik pakte de bus. Kan je ook zeggen, het regende gisteren, dus ik heb de bus gepakt? Omdat regende ook de past tense is?
Het regende gisteren, dus ik heb de bus gepakt. Let me think. It sounds okay. But since your action of getting the bus really depends on the fact that it rained, it makes more sense to put het regende gisteren in the present perfect. So het heeft gisteren geregend, dus ik heb de bus gepakt, or dus ik pakte de bus, work better than the other way around. The present perfect is really a tense after which follows a dus or a so. So I would put the present perfect there.
Okay, but that the present perfect always, that in both sentences there should be the present perfect? Or are there also exceptions where you can have like one past tense and then another one?
Yeah, you can. For instance, if you have toen in the first sentence, toen het gisteren ging regenen, pakte ik de bus. Heb ik de bus gepakt, for instance. When it started to rain yesterday, but then you would also probably use toen in the first one. But there are combinations where you can have it. For instance, we had one example earlier. Toen mijn wekker ging, when my alarm went off, ben ik meteen opgestaan. I stood up immediately. That makes perfect sense.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I also have a question. I'm just wondering, maybe it has to do with irregular versus regular. But why, like in the examples of usage present perfect, when do you know when to use the full word, like gelopen, instead of, like compared to gewerkt? Gewerkt uses the werk, it doesn't use werken. And gelopen is, gelopen instead of geloopt. When do you know? Yeah.
That is indeed a regular versus irregular thing, unfortunately. So the gelopen versie is irregular. in general, you use the gelopen, the full infinitive with ge in front of it, often with verbs that are irregular in the past simple. So lopen is liepen in the past simple. And werken is just completely regulars. Werken, werkte, gewerkt. And so when the past simple is irregular, often, but not always, the present perfect is something ge with the infinitive. Like gelopen, gelezen. But yeah, that does differ. And it is, again, unfortunately, a case of learning them.
But in that gelopen and gelezen, is that regular or irregular?
That is irregular.
Irregular.
Yeah, if it was regular, it would be geloopt of geleest.
Okay.
Good question, though. All right, if there are no questions, let's have a break until 10 past. You've earned it. If you have questions in the meantime, always feel free to ask them. Okay, then we will reconvene in 10 past 9. All right. It is 10 past. Hope you are all sort of back. I'll give it a little bit of time. I don't see anyone, so hello. All right. So what we are going to do for the big exercise is we're gonna watch a little video clip in Dutch for which you have to answer a few questions. Those questions I've posted in the chat. They are unfortunately not in your booklet because I only found this clip like yesterday. But it is pretty good. It's a pretty good exercise. So at the first 5 questions pertain to the first 5 minutes of the clip, and the next 7 questions, next 5 questions pertain to the last half. Do you by any chance know how the exit poll of the voting looks now? It was indeed election day. I don't actually know. I have not looked yet, so I can't give you that answer. I'm blissfully ignorant, but I will look it up as soon as this is over. Yeah, so I will give you a little bit of time to look at the questions and familiarize yourself a bit with them before I play the clip, because I don't feel like playing the clip twice. It's fun-ish, but it's not that entertaining. So I will give you 2 minutes to kind of look at the questions and ask questions about the questions. So if you don't understand what a word is, or think it is an important word that you don't know, some of the words you probably don't know, but they'll come up or are not that important, please ask, and I shall answer. And then we will look at the clip, and you answer the questions during, and then we have to look at them together, you know? Pedagogy.
Sorry, I joined a little bit late. Where are the questions?
The questions are in the chat.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no
Thank
worries.
you.
Good question. And the questions are in Dutch, so make it extra difficult. So at 15, I'll assume you have absorbed the contents of the question. Before that, I will, this is just a test, I will play a little bit of the clip. Please let me know if you can hear the sound. That is pretty crucial. So I will do that now. Was that audible?
Yeah.
Cool. I know that screen sharing video, not the best experience, but it's mostly about the audio. So I hope that will come through well enough. Okay. Well, if you all perfectly understand the questions, then I will begin. And I will turn off my camera because sharing audio and recording it and sharing my video is kind of difficult for my poor computer. I will pause the video halfway through, and those will be the first five questions, and then you can ask a couple questions about things that are unclear or whatever, not of course about what the answer to the question is, and then we can discuss again. Okay, let us go.
Hallo, welkom bij Aan het Werk, een programma over het vinden van een baan. Om aan werk te komen moet je solliciteren. Maar ja, hoe doe je dat precies? Vandaag gaan we op sollicitatietraining met Bayu.
Hi,
Hoi, waar kom je vandaan?
ik kom uit Indonesië.
Uit welke regio?
Ik kom uit eigenlijk van Yogyakarta. Dus dat ligt eigenlijk in het midden van Java.
Oh, dat kennen veel mensen wel.
Ja.
En hoe lang ben je in Nederland?
Ik ben hier nu net 1 jaar.
Kort?
Kort, tamelijk kort. En ik ben nu nog bezig met mijn Nederlands cursus ook.
Heel belangrijk.
Ja.
Maar ja, solliciteren is ook belangrijk. Dus
Ja.
vandaag gaan we kijken hoe dat gaat.
Is goed.
Kom.
Oké.
Als je thuis nog vragen hebt, bel ons of mail ons even. Goedemorgen. We komen voor de sollicitatietraining. Ik zal even bellen, denk ik. Oké, dank u wel.
Dank u wel.
Vandaag gaan we beginnen met het cv. Het cv is het curriculum vitae en dat is een overzichtje van wat je allemaal gedaan hebt en wat je allemaal kunt. Je kan een cv geven aan een werkgever of bijvoorbeeld aan een uitzendbureau. En wat we dan gaan doen is even oefenen met het maken van je cv, zodat je hem thuis op de computer helemaal goed kan maken.
Een goed cv is altijd netjes getypt en is nooit meer dan 2 pagina's lang. Het Nederlands moet natuurlijk goed zijn, dus vraag hulp als je dat nodig hebt.
Volgens mij moeten we beginnen met wat het kortst geleden is, dus van nu naar vroeger. Dus wat is de laatste opleiding die je hebt gehad?
Houding.
Ja, dan zeg je
dus
je begint dus zeg maar.
Nee, Yogyakarta.
Hiervoor zet je boekhouding.
Je hebt dus van 2000 tot 2003
Ja.
als receptionist.
Ja.
Oké, dan schrijf je
Ja,
zo. Dus,
alleen als je Nederland mag je
Mist.
gewoon zetten welke stad, omdat iedereen dat kent. Ja.
Receptionist. Ja. Maar nou zie ik, je hebt nog niet Indonesisch, Bahasa Indonesia opgeschreven.
Het is mijn moedertaal, hè.
Dat is je
Moet ik
moedertaal.
hier ook naar opschrijven?
Ja, volgens mij heb ik begrepen dat dat juist iets heel goed is, want dan weet iedereen dat je... Dat spreek je vloeiend.
Ja.
Vloeiend.
Op je cv moet altijd staan je persoonsgegevens, je opleidingen en werkervaring, je andere vaardigheden en je hobby's. Op onze website vind je een voorgedrukt cv dat je alleen nog maar hoeft in te vullen.
Als je cv af is en je hebt een brief geschreven naar het bedrijf waar je wil gaan werken, dan word je misschien wel uitgenodigd voor een gesprek. Nou, zo'n sollicitatiegesprek gaan we nu oefenen. Eduardo en ik zijn de werkgevers en op de gang staat Bayu en hij komt solliciteren. Bayu, kom binnen.
Hallo. Ik ben Bayu.
Goedemorgen.
Hi, goedemorgen.
Milos Kameulens.
Bayu, ik ben Eduardo.
Ik ben Bayu.
Ga maar zitten, alsjeblieft.
Dankjewel.
Oké. Ja, je hebt een goede brief geschreven, daarom zit je hier. En je cv zag er mooi uit.
Ja.
Maar we vroegen ons nog af, waarom wil je hier werken?
Ik vind het leuk om andere mensen te helpen. En bij die hotel kan ik ook met een andere mensen, of zeg maar een internationale mensen ontmoeten. Dat vind ik leuk.
Zou je ook nog iets kunnen vertellen over jezelf? Ja. Hoe ben jij?
Ik ben geduldig. En ik ben een persoon die altijd leuk om met andere mensen te helpen.
Oké, dat is duidelijk. En waar ben je minder goed in dan?
Soms ben ik ook een perfectionist.
Is dat iets goeds of iets slechts?
Het is eigenlijk niet goed. Hè? Ik vind het niet leuk eigenlijk. Maar het is gewoon mijn zeg maar een slechte eigenschap. Hè?
Ja.
Nou, Bayu, we weten voldoende voor jou. Ik wil vragen, als je hebt nog een vraag voor ons.
En dan hoeveel mensen werken er eigenlijk?
Nou, is natuurlijk 15 mensen. En wij moeten nog eigenlijk even nakijken. En dan je hoort van ons.
Ja.
We geven wel een antwoord voor jou.
Ja, het ziet er goed uit.
Dat is leuk.
Ja?
Oké.
Nou, hartelijk bedankt.
Dankjewel voor je komst.
Dankjewel.
En tot ziens.
Dankjewel.
Tot ziens.
Okay.
Dag.
In het gesprek gaat het altijd over de volgende dingen. Waarom wil jij deze baan hebben? Waarom kun jij dat werk heel goed? En wat zijn jouw goede en minder goede eigenschappen?
Barjoe, wat vond je zelf? Hoe vond je dat het ging toen je binnenkwam en toen je ging zitten? Wat is jouw idee daarover?
Wel, eerlijk zijn, hè? Ik vond mij een beetje zenuwachtig, maar ik vind het ook leuk om te doen.
Een beetje zenuwachtig zijn, dat mag. Want er is niemand die zomaar even gaat zitten bij een sollicitatiegesprek en die helemaal niet zenuwachtig is. Dus een klein beetje zenuwachtig zijn is goed. Eduardo, vond jij dat Barjoe zichzelf was tijdens het gesprek?
Ja, ik denk dat hij heeft wel zich best gedaan. Maar ik denk dat wel een beetje zeker voor zichzelf moest wel doen, ja.
Iets minder bescheiden.
Ja, iets minder bescheiden.
Voor een sollicitatiegesprek zijn een paar dingen heel belangrijk. Zorg dat je er netjes uitziet en kom op tijd. Een beetje zenuwachtig zijn mag, maar wees jezelf. En tot slot, praat duidelijk en ben zeker van jezelf.
Alright, that was the first half. How did that go? Was that doable? Were we able to understand the questions?
It worked well for me.
Oh, sorry. I lowered my volume. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, no, that it worked well for me.
Okay, great. I just noticed that in the first question I made a typo. It says, hoeveel jaar is Bajuin in Nederland? That should be Baju in Nederland. But I'm guessing you got that. Okay. Then, let's continue. So this was were the first 5 questions. And now we are on to the next 5. Good luck.
Werk vind je niet alleen door te solliciteren op advertenties. Je nieuwe baan kan dichterbij zijn dan je denkt. Vertel zoveel mogelijk mensen die je kent dat je op zoek bent naar werk. Of bel ze of stuur een e-mail. En wie weet weten zij wel een leuke baan voor je. Nosratollah Beboudi komt uit Afghanistan. Hij deed daar alleen de basisschool en leerde meubels maken in het bedrijf van zijn broer. Hier is Nosratollah vrijwilliger in een meubelmakerij.
من نصرت الله هستم از افغانستان آمدیم تقریبا 3.5 سال است که من در هلند هستم آمدیم اینجا کار میکنم بعد خوب
We zijn hier in de Rode Beuk, dat is een timmerwerkplaats. Wij zitten hier met 2 meubelmakers en 3 aannemers.
Dit moet gewoon helemaal netjes geschuurd, dan gaan we hem straks
Nosratollah, hij werkt hier bij ons sinds een jaar, ongeveer 1 dag per week. En is hier binnengekomen als stage, als taalstage eigenlijk, praktijkstage.
Nosratollah kwam naar Nederland met veel ervaring, maar zonder diploma. Door zijn stage leerde hij Nederlandse meubelmakers kennen. Zo kan hij later misschien betaald werk vinden.
Ik heb geen diploma. Ik heb in Afghanistan niet geweest in een school. Ik heb werk bij mijn broer. Bijna 15 jaar ervaring dus met dit soort werk. Ik heb bijna 15 jaar in Afghanistan gewerkt. Ja, maar nu in Nederland bijna 1 jaar.
De stage heeft Nosratolla erg geholpen. Hij leerde met nieuwe machines werken en leerde de taal.
Ik heb ook gemerkt dat zijn taal gewoon heel, toch wel vooruit gegaan is in het jaar dat hij hier werkt. En ja, ik merk gewoon aan hem dat hij altijd erg vrolijk hier binnenkomt en vrolijk weer naar huis gaat. Hier graag is.
Als je komt hier, sommige dingen moet leren. Ja, in Afghanistan heb ik niet gezien die soort machine. Maar het heeft heel hout. Maar deze nieuwe machine moet ook leren. Ja.
Nee, andere kant. Ja, hier. Het advies wat ik zou willen geven voor als je hier graag aan de slag wilt, dat je zelf initiatief neemt. Ik denk dat er plekken genoeg zijn waar je mensen gewoon binnen kunt stappen en mensen wel degelijk je willen helpen om verder op weg te komen.
Ik ben gewoon werken, maar als je komt hier, ik ben blij. Samen praten en koffie drinken en ja, zo.
Als vluchteling kun je voor werk ook terecht bij employ.net. De mensen van employ.net zijn erin gespecialiseerd om voor jou werk te vinden. Je wordt geholpen door vrijwilligers die zelf de Nederlandse arbeidsmarkt heel goed kennen. Je kunt ze ook bellen. Dat was het voor deze keer. De volgende keer kijken we naar opleidingen. Ga je meteen werken of ga je eerst naar school? Als je nog vragen hebt over de uitzending, neem dan contact met ons op. Dag!
All right. That was it. Hope that was doable. Yeah, so let's go through the answers. And this time I won't point people out. So just give a yell if you think you know the answer. So for the first one, pretty easy, I think. How many years was bij you in Nederland? Anyone?
1.
Oh, I have my volume low. Could you repeat that, Ari?
1 year?
Yeah, very good. Good job. Only 1 year he has been here. Okay, 2. Waarom wil bij u het werk graag doen? Anyone?
I think it's A.
Yes, indeed. Zo kan hij veel mensen uit andere landen ontmoeten. Good job. Welke positieve eigenschappen noemt bij u van zichzelf in het sollicitatiegesprek? Which positive attributes of himself does Bayu mention in the job interview?
B?
I think it's B, yes.
Yes, indeed. He says that hij graag andere mensen helpt. He likes to help other people. Welke negatieve eigenschap van zichzelf noemt Bayu in het sollicitatiegesprek? Geduldig, ongeduldig of perfectionistisch?
C. Perfectionist.
Yes, indeed. And then interviews asked him like, is that really a bad thing? And then he said, yeah, for Bayu. And then 5, wat zegt de sollicitatiecommissie over Bayu? Dat hij te zeker van zichzelf is, bescheiden of aangenomen?
I think B. Hij is bescheiden.
Yes, indeed. He's bescheiden, he's a bit too shy. Or humble even. That's a more accurate translation. He wasn't te zeker van zichzelf, too confident, or aangenomen, hired. because it was a fake interview. Good. Okay. Then 6. Hoeveel dagen per week werkt Nasratolla in de meubelmakerij? How many days in the week does Nasratolla work in the furniture shop? 1, 2, or 3?
1 dag.
1 dag, indeed.
Oh.
En hoeveel jaar ervaring heeft Nasratolla als meubelmaker in Afghanistan?
15 jaar.
Indeed. Yeah, fucking ridiculous. The man worked for 15 years as a furniture, and then now he can't find a job, and he has to work for free here. Poor dude. Wat leert Nasratolla tijdens de stage in de timmerwerkplaats? Met hout omgaan, met collega's overleggen of met nieuwe machines werken?
Met nieuwe machines werken.
Indeed. Say. Now I will disappoint people. Jacqueline, wat zegt de stagebegeleiders over het vinden van een stage?
I don't know this one, sorry.
Okay, warrant a guess? 1 and 3.
Sorry, I didn't get the last 2 ones.
Okay. Anyone else?
I thought it was C.
It is indeed C. Zelf initiatief nemen helpt bij het vinden van een stage. Showing initiative will help you succeed. And then 10. Wat doet Stichting Employ? I actually didn't catch this one myself, so.
B, I think.
Could be. Other people agree with B?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. Then it's probably correct. I didn't really catch it exactly what they did.
I think they help refugees find
Yes.
work.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Okay, great. Good job, everyone. I thought I paused. Yeah, okay. All right. So that was the lesson already. Wow, you felt easy. Hope doing a listening exercise was useful for you. I think it's good to try to actively pick up Dutch. And it was about jobs, somewhat related. That was it for this week. Your homework for next week is to do exercise 1 and 2. As always, there is no bonus homework. That was a joke. Also do your Duolingo homework. It is present perfect, jobs and business words. Yeah, that was it. Then we have, for next week, we will learn about probably, in my opinion, most difficult subject in the Dutch language, namely word order, syntax. How the hell do all these Dutch words fit together? In surprisingly strange ways, it turns out. But we'll guide you through it. Next week, Evelien will also be back. And everything should be super peachy, unless the election results turn out differently. Yes, that was it for this week. Hope you enjoyed the class, hope you learned something. Apologies for my slightly more toned down behavior, but we made it work. And hope to see you next week. Tot volgende week.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Doei.
Volgende week.
Doei, tot volgende week.
Doei.
Dankjewel, doei.
Doei, graag gedaan.